Welcome back to Binge Movie Breakdowns. Today we're diving into Civil War 2024, a gripping action thriller that's as intense as it is thought-provoking. If you enjoy our breakdowns, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Binge Movie Breakdowns for more weekly recaps. Now let's get started. The United States is in freefall. A devastating civil war has gripped the nation, with secessionist forces rapidly advancing on Washington, D.C. On one side, the authoritarian federal government clings to power under the rule of a president in his unprecedented third term. On the other, the Western forces, led by Texas and California, close in from the west, while the Florida Alliance marches in from the southeast. Despite the president's claims of imminent victory, everyone knows the Capitol's fall is inevitable. Amid the chaos, we meet Lee Smith, a veteran war photographer who has spent years documenting the horrors of conflict. Lee is jaded and weary, but his commitment to his craft is unwavering. Alongside him is his journalist colleague, Joel, who shares Lee's ambition of capturing one final career-defining story. The two narrowly survive a suicide bombing in New York City, a harrowing sequence that sets the tone for the brutal journey ahead. Shaken but alive, Lee and Joel regroup with their mentor, Sammy, a grizzled photojournalist who's seen it all. Over drinks, they share their bold plan, an exclusive interview with the president before his likely capture. Sammy, who's heading to the Western Forces front lines in Charlottesville, tags along for the ride. The next morning, the trio prepares to leave New York. However, Joel surprises Lee by inviting Jesse Cullen, a young and eager aspiring photojournalist, to join them. Jesse, whom Lee briefly encountered during the bombing, is inexperienced but determined to prove herself. Lee is reluctant, but it's too late to argue. Jesse is coming along. The group's first stop is a gas station in a desolate rural area guarded by armed men. Tension fills the air as the group refuels. Jesse, curious and impulsive, wanders into a nearby car wash and stumbles upon a horrifying scene. The guards are torturing two men accused of looting. One of the guards follows Jesse, threatening her. Lee diffuses the situation by snapping a photo of the guard posing with his victims, turning brutality into a grotesque trophy. Later, as the group drives away, Jessie berates herself for not photographing the scene. Lee reassures her, but it's clear that Jessie is grappling with the harsh realities of war photography. The group spends the night in a makeshift camp near the front lines, where the sounds of distant gunfire serve as an ominous backdrop. The next day, they document a brutal battle as secessionist forces assault a Loyalist-held building. The sequence is chaotic and visceral. Explosions rip through the air and soldiers fall in a hail of bullets. Jessie watches in awe and horror, her camera trembling in her hands. As the secessionists storm the building, Lee notices Jessie's raw potential. He begins to mentor her, teaching her how to frame shots and capture the essence of war. Jessie's confidence grows, but so does her detachment. She even photographs the secessionists executing Loyalist prisoners, a chilling moment that marks her transformation from an idealist to a hardened observer. The group's journey takes them to a refugee camp, where displaced families huddle in tents, their faces etched with despair. For a brief moment, the group experiences a flicker of humanity amid the chaos. But the respite is short-lived. In a small town, they encounter residents living under the watchful eyes of armed guards. The townspeople cling to a fragile sense of normalcy, hosting a market and attending church services. But the war's shadow looms large. The group's next stop is a shattered Christmas fairground, now a sniper-infested battlefield. As bullets whiz through the air, Joel questions the snipers' motives, asking which side they're fighting for. The snipers respond with chilling indifference. "We kill those trying to kill us. That's all that matters." Jessie rises to the occasion, her nerves steadying as she captures the carnage through her lens. Her skills improve, but her humanity begins to erode. In a moment of grim curiosity, she asks Lee if he would photograph her if she were killed in combat. Lee solemnly promises that he would. The group later encounters two foreign journalists, Tony and Bohai, who join them for the next leg of their journey. But tragedy strikes when the convoy is ambushed by soldiers burying civilians in a mass grave. The soldiers accuse Tony and Bohai of not being American and execute them on the spot. It's a harrowing and senseless act of violence. In a desperate bid to save the group, Sammy rams their truck into the soldiers, buying precious seconds. He is mortally wounded in the process, sacrificing himself to ensure the others can escape. The scene is devastating, and the loss of their mentor leaves the group shattered. The surviving trio reaches the Western Forces base in Charlottesville, where they find the Loyalist resistance in disarray. Washington, D.C. is defended by only the most fanatical remnants of the armed forces. Joel, consumed by guilt over Sammy's death, lashes out at Lee and Jesse, calling their mission pointless. Lee tries to console Jesse, telling her that Sammy would have wanted to die doing what he loved. But Lee is struggling too. Unable to process his grief, he deletes a photo of Sammy's body. As the Western forces prepare to storm the White House, the trio embeds themselves with the advancing soldiers. The battle is a chaotic and bloody spectacle. Jessie throws herself into the action, risking her life repeatedly to capture the perfect shot. Lee, meanwhile, struggles with PTSD as the violence around him triggers flashbacks. When the Western forces breach the White House's defenses, a convoy carrying the presidential limousine attempts to flee. The soldiers intercept the vehicles only to discover it's a decoy, a desperate attempt to buy time. Lee, Joel, and Jesse push into the White House with a squad of Western Forces soldiers. The building is a haunting wasteland, filled with the bodies of staffers who chose suicide over capture. The group encounters a lone Secret Service agent who offers to negotiate the president's surrender, but tensions boil over and violence erupts. Room by room, the soldiers clear the White House, engaging in brutal firefights with the remaining Loyalist guards. Jessie, driven by her obsession with documenting the moment, repeatedly defies orders to photograph the carnage. In one chilling moment, she steps into the open to capture a photo of Secret Service agents down a hallway. Lee, desperate to protect her, tackles her to the ground, only to be gunned down in the process. As Lee lies dying, Jesse captures a series of haunting images of his final moments. The photos are raw, unflinching, and destined to become iconic. But Jesse has crossed a line, her humanity replaced by a cold, clinical detachment. The surviving group reaches the Oval Office, where the president is found hiding under his desk. The soldiers drag him out, preparing to execute him on the spot. Joel pauses to ask for a final quote. The president, desperate and broken, pleads, "Don't let them kill me." Joel steps back, satisfied, and Jesse snaps the million-dollar photographs of the president's execution and the soldiers posing with his corpse.
The movie ends with Jessie staring at her photographs, images of Lee's death, the president's execution, and the horrors of war. She has achieved fame, but at what cost? Her journey from an idealistic rookie to a hardened war photographer is complete, leaving the audience to grapple with the devastating toll of war, not just on nations, but on the individuals who document its horrors.